C.J. Sage is the author of 3 collections of poetry, most recently the San Simeon Zebras. She's the editor of the National Poetry Review and Press. Her poems invent a new kind of landscape for nature to populate, familiar and foreign, urban and wild. The beast is ferociously alive in these poems, where all around our teeth and homesickness pads in, kneading through your chest with its huge claws. Sage is the mistress of precise wordplay. She teases us with line breaks designed for double meanings and twists cliches to blend meanings that subvert our expectations. When clock is a verb that sidles in, slightly surreal, with swollen fists and a rockabilly soundtrack, we contemplate freedom against the backdrop of so many cages and a whale's breach against the goddamned adamant horizon. And when the poet as magpie entreats us to place your tiny wildnesses upon me, we are grateful, and we do.
All right. So this wine that we're going to be tasting here is Highway 12. This is their proprietary blend. Sure enough, the winery is a great... They're very focused on what they meant to do. All the grapes are grown right along Highway 12. Go figure. What I really liked about her great work, CJ's, is just when you take an idea and you keep blending in layers and layers of creating things inside the head, you're talking about really building. And that's really what a great wine is done with, or how you do it. And, in the old world, they did a lot of that. And you go to Bordeaux, almost all the wines are completely blended. They're not 100% Cabernet. There's a little bit of Merlot. There's some Cabernet Franc. There's some Malbec. There's all these different grape varieties. And sure enough, this one is a Merlot-based wine. This is 52% Merlot. There is some Cabernet Franc in here. And so the Merlot, what it does is it creates that amazing texture in the middle of your mouth. The Cabernet Franc builds up the foundation of that and provides structure. And then there's some Cabernet in here, and that's that cherry. There's a cherry that you capture right there on the end of your tongue, and then all of a sudden it explodes in the back with all these spices and all this activity that's going on inside your mouth. And that's kind of the same exact thing when you listen to CJ's poetry, is that it's very explosive. There's a lot of ideas going on inside your mind. And this has all been trapped inside of a bottle in this case with this wine, but you're going to listen to the real thing go down right now. So, CJ, without any further...
Hello, thank you, Hollie and Christopher and Tess. Really appreciate being invited. I'm the shyest one of the bunch, I think. So, we'll see how that goes.
How's the sound?
Louder?
Into the mic.
Okay. The first poem I'm going to read is called Landscapes with Elephant Seals and Umbrellas. In the water, solitary creatures. The elephant seals gather close on land to mate and molt. They slough their skin, then off they go again into the sea alone. Upon the sand one wonders why they huddle together so. In the city, I once saw a herd of quick umbrellas, open all at once, all the owners purposely not touching, and scuttled down the street en masse. The black nylon and the taupe nylon, and all the rest bumped and bounced off each other in the rain. Like the rain bounding off umbrellas, like molecules. Like molecules, every contact was followed, as every contact must be, by estrangement. There was once a man and woman whose ribs collided. Neither one was ever seen again. When the seals accidentally touch, they bellow and fuss, They throw their heads to the sky. They wave and writhe and moan the other away until again each feels itself owner of the shoreline. To either side of the rows they make, lined up along each other, there is a mile of empty beach. Only a child makes use of it. What kind of creature dares to stretch itself, naked and warm-skinned, where no one else has been? Only a child, only a brilliant child. A man I met, he was on the bus and humming to himself, turned to me and said, "You look familiar." Between his ribs and arm, a closed umbrella licked his clothes with rain. He moved a little closer to make a place for another. I tell you, the ride was short. There is a family entering the beach, verily against the rules. There is a ranger, she is kind, who moves to shoo them off. Down the road there is a dune where scores of nudes may paint themselves with sun. Rarely one of them brushes another. And then I'm going to read some things from a newer manuscript. This one is also sort of a beach poem, and then we'll move from there. Landscape with beach and dead buck. It must have rolled there, down the drowned hill, behind the road-up beachfront houses. What aim something had had, for it to squeeze between the tight-knit lots and then, through a narrow fence break, to the flooded sand. There are these stranger things. Lines of ducklings cross a 6-lane speedway. A bath of seals basks amidst the wine-drunk Sunday walkers and their dogs. Aligned just so across the storm-soaked plain, the buck's thick rack of antlers with a rack of washed-up palm bark. It was a stunning volta, a tour of second homes become a morbid wake. Volt of corpus mortis, it went quickly, the encounter of it. Tens and tens more bids have passed since then, buyer's market turning like the undertowing sea. Lookers marked it a sort of driftwood, the overwrought surf having brought it in, and, as naturally drift would, taken it out again. So Hollie read maybe a third of the other one I was planning to read, but I guess that's okay. It's called Please Do Not Touch the Glass. It's probably changed title since you saw it, I think. To be a tour guide means a trip to the zoo. It means indulgence, to be stared at dumbly through a window. There is always a wealth of strangers. You're out there, someplace else faced, looking casual. The beasts dislike everything about you. Their faces draw spotlights. They get laughed at by your crowd. Behind the exhibition, you expect cruelty. All around are teeth. If you want to live, you can. You have to be a tourist like everyone else. Sometimes is not enough. Homesickness pads in, kneading through your chest with its huge claws. So these next two, well, I was doing a radio show yesterday for somebody, and I read through the poems that she told me she really liked, which is all the animal poems, which I hadn't even prepared because I had the new stuff. And then after I read all these poems that she told me she wanted to hear again, thank goodness I had some of the new ones, because she says, "So, Nat, can you read something lighter now?" And I don't know, I never really thought about my poems as dark or light, but they're all pretty serious, I guess. So the next one I read, the next two I'm going to read are probably about as light as I get, which might not be saying much. This one's called Go Greyhounds. It could be a particle of dander that ruins my whole day and sends me reading hardships texts hour by hour. The stiffened hips of racetrack breeding dogs make my eyes water, get me posting buyer beware signs and begging for change. Yum is not what I think when I think of meat, fish or otherwise. I think of how a spine breaks under thumb. The hotel where I was raised had a mole problem. Less attractive was the double dose of poison brought in by fair-skinned owners in leather boots. Check the manes of trained horses for the gum of jockeys. If there is pay involved, a majority will play. You follow the ponies while I mimic the whimpered hounds. And actually, that's not light at all, but I guess... I guess I'm either in super denial or I was thinking more about the energy of it. Let's try it again. The Weatherman's Broken Promise. It did not flurry at the beach, and that's okay. I talked someone into sending me a snowball. I was older when it arrived, and I'd forgotten the head I'd planned it for, so I collared a new victim in calfskin gloves. I do not kneel in church because I do not go to church. My mouth carries that charge, although sometimes it slips up, cracking vaults and scrambling the codes of innocence. If cars are the body in dreams, then maybe radios are breath, maybe gasps. Escher stairs and fields without set paths. If I flew, those would be the destinations. Let's jet. You be weightless now, and I'll be dust. Uh-oh. So this means you want the light ones? That's a bummer. Okay, so I can't give you one, but what I'll do is I'll give you an old favorite instead, and hopefully you'll like it. And this will be my last poem. Sonnet for Carrie House and Keeper. I met a man who'd kept a snail as a pet beneath a cold stone house which held no wife, too dank for even long stray cats to thrive. Inside an old fish tank his snail friend slept. The man's round back was proof he'd not forget to spend good time just keeping things alive between his care-filled self and his shelled bride. All day he'd curve around her as she crept among the leafy shadows of his hands. He'd trace her pearl string trails with his fingers. His breath would set small clouds into her glass. The day he set her free, she took 1/2 a day to slip into goodbye. She lingered in the love grass, like the lovelorn, said this man. Thank you very much.